on the February 4th edition of Carolina Week. Close calls like this. Scary, isn't it? 13 kids killed in 15 years. Why it's happening and the solution that could be in the palm of our hands.
CEO. These three letters mean business. More women than ever reach the top. The secrets to their success.
Uber steers clear of high prices, how you can save money on your next ride home. All that and more. Carolina Week starts right now.
From the UNC School of Journalism and Mass Communication, covering Carolina in HD, this is Carolina Week.
Many of us have seen it. A school bus stops, the stop arm goes out, and cars pass the bus anyway. Good evening, I'm Elizabeth Tew.
And I'm Kristen Lee. Thanks for joining us. Every day, drivers who break this law put kids at risk as they get on or off school buses. Susanna Black is live at the school bus lot for Chapel Hill Carborough City Schools. Susanna, there are major deterrents in place, but are they working?
A $500 fine and 5 points on your license. You think it would be enough to get drivers to stop when kids are getting on and off the bus. But every day, thousands of drivers continue to put our young people at risk. One car after another speeding past a stopped school bus. Watch closely as this child crosses the street. The driver almost runs him over.
Oh my God!
Drivers struck and killed 13 North Carolina children during the past 15 years.
There was a car that was not paying attention and almost hit a child.
Robin Small says in her 20 years driving buses, she's seen hundreds of drivers blow right past the bus's extended stop arm.
Texting while they're driving on the phone, holding their dogs in their laps.
And that something has to be done. In North Carolina, more than 3,000 drivers pass by stopped school buses every day. But officials say that cameras like this one can help identify those drivers and slow down this growing problem. The stop arm camera. Derek Graham says it gives 3 different angles of the car involved in the violation.
Our state law requires that we be able to identify the motorist, the person that's driving that car.
Without that image, there's no case. So if 13,500 buses on the road in our state every day, why do only 400 to 500 of those have stop arm cameras? That's only 3%.
There's 2 things. The system costs about $3,000 per bus. And then the second is the manpower. It takes a fair amount of manpower to follow one of these through, to grab the image, to turn it over to law enforcement. Then it takes manpower on their part, and then the district attorney has to prosecute that.
Graham says the solution doesn't rest with the technology on the buses, but with the people breaking the law.
When you're using the stop arm camera, it's after the violation has already taken place, right? And then it's too late. If there's a child out there, once it's taken place, it's too late.
Now, knowing when the restriction begins is crucial. Anytime the bus comes to a full stop, the stop arm is completely extended and the lights are flashing. You have to stop and can't start again until the bus begins to move. Kristen?
So important to be responsible behind that wheel. Susanna Black live at the Chapel Hill Carborough City Schools bus lot. Thanks, Susanna.
According to the Institute for Highway Safety, more than 3,000 teens die in crashes associated with texting and driving every year. You'd think that knowing the dangers of something might prevent you from doing it. But when it comes to texting and driving, many young people fail to consider the potentially deadly consequences. Katie Fiore reports.
This PSA has a simple message for us. No one should text and drive. A recent survey by AT&T found that 98% of drivers who text daily say they are aware of the dangers of texting behind the wheel. Miles Kimball says he's one of those drivers.
Kids our age are always on their phones, and driving's no exception. I know I've been texting and driving since I got my license.
3/4 of that 98% admitted to texting while driving despite knowing the dangers, just like Miles.
Even though it's dangerous when my phone goes off in the car, it's just second nature to look at it and see what it is and most likely respond.
AT&T released the survey just as it expanded availability of its new Drive Mode app, which, when turned on, will automatically silence text message alerts when a user moves at 15 miles per hour or faster. As far as phone calls go, the app only allows calls to designated contacts.
Lieutenant Josh Macey-Moore of the Chapel Hill Police Department says that turning on this app could be a problem itself.
If the app requires that you do something to enable it while you're driving, then that's just as dangerous as the texting in all likelihood.
The survey also found some of the most common reasons people text and drive. Those included feeling afraid of missing something important, needing to respond quickly, and feelings of addiction to texting and anxiety without phones. Lieutenant Macey-Moore says the best thing you can do to prevent accidents is simple. Put down the phone and drive. In Asheville, I'm Katie Fiore reporting.
The Drive Mode app was made available only to AT&T users for a while, but now it's open to other carriers. Owners of both iPhones and Androids can download it.
Student body president elections are February 10th, and Tuesday, the final 3 candidates took to the stage to debate their platforms. Catherine Walker, David Marsh, and Houston Summers. Those are the 3 candidates still in the 2015 student body president race. The candidates debated hot topics such as sustainability, sexual assault, and minority issues. These candidates need 1,250 signatures each by tonight if they're to continue on the next week's election.
Some students are trying to change what they call the university's racist past. Hundreds gathered at Kicking Out the KKK rally, hoping to get Saunders Hall renamed. Student members of the Real Silent Sam Coalition hosted the rally in front of the Silent Sam Memorial. One student reenacted a historic speech by Carborough's namesake, Julian Shakespeare Carr, and students shared testimonies about their sentiments in regards to renaming Saunders Hall to Hurston Hall, after author Zora Neale Hurston, who took classes unofficially at UNC before desegregation.
February is Black History Month, and Hillsborough residents are looking to the future by remembering the past. Hillsborough residents met Sunday at the Orange County Senior Center to listen to speakers on the subject of historic Black schools. The event featured a photo exhibit of schools built for children of color during segregation. 50% of Hillsborough's population is senior citizens, and programs like these help to engage them in the community.
The Monty Hippo Awards are held every year at the Arts Center in Carrboro and allow individuals to showcase their storytelling talents. Individuals have only 12 minutes to tell their stories. The stories have to be true, and storytellers aren't allowed to use any notes. The stories from this month's show will compete with others told throughout the year in categories like comedy and drama. Announcement of the overall winners for 2015 will come in early 2016.
3 weeks later, and we still don't know why the Board of Governors demanded UNC System President Tom Ross's resignation. We took a look at some of the political powers at play in North Carolina and found at least a clue suggesting Ross and the Republican-controlled board might have been too polarized to work together. The Civitas Institute is a nonprofit organization calling itself North Carolina's conservative voice. The Institute recently published this website. It's called mappingtheleft.com, where it specifically targets the Z. Smith Reynolds Foundation.
The most powerful force in Tar Heel politics and government is a shadowy network of activist groups funded by a wealthy liberal elite. The
Z. Smith Reynolds Foundation gives away millions of dollars each year, millions to organizations Civitas says helped keep Democrats in control of the state for decades. Tom Ross was the executive director of the Reynolds Foundation from 2001 to 2007. Now, board members say Ross was asked to step down because it's time for a transition, but the chairman didn't give specifics.
We had a timeline that we were thinking along, and President Ross had a different timeline.
Civitas is Art Pope's family foundation, and he provides a large portion of the Institute's funding. Pope is tied to Governor Pat McCrory and the state's Republican Party. He is a former GOP legislator and was the state budget director under McCrory. Pope has criticized Ross and the board's leadership. He's been mentioned as a possible replacement for Ross, but Pope denies interest. A UNC professor who specializes in Southern politics and who has worked with the Reynolds Foundation says Ross's forced resignation is an example of victors enjoying their spoils.
I just hope that we as the university don't change who we are collectively simply to bend to the prevailing politics of the moment.
Officials with Civitas declined an on-camera interview, saying in an email that Mapping the Left is out there for the public to view, and they're happy for the moment to let it speak for itself. The Reynolds Foundation Executive Director Leslie Winter rejected Civitas's charges that her organization funds only left-wing activists. The popular ride-sharing service Uber is now easier on your wallet.
But some drivers are upset about the change. That story coming up. More women are CEOs of large companies than ever before, but the numbers are still marginal compared to their male counterparts. So what is it really like to be a woman at the top in our state? I sat down with 3 very powerful women to find out their secrets to success.
I truly believe in women helping women.
Secretary of State Elaine Marshall is a pioneer for women, but even she knows that success for women in top-level business positions is a slow process.
Women have taken a lot of new leadership positions, but when you look at big corporate CEOs or women serving on big boards, influential company boards, it's been a slow battle.
Among the state's top 75 public companies, only 3 have female CEOs. Of the largest 100 private companies, only 2, and it goes down from there. Founder and CEO of Trademark Properties, Billy Redmond, recognizes the challenges intrinsic to women.
Women who could start a company, run a company, expand a company, grow a company, change a company, still largely can be hinged on their ability to put their hands on funding resources.
So what's the key for women's success?
You have to be ready to put the effort in, to make the sacrifices, make the life balance changes that you're going to need to make.
Perseverance, the willingness to be tenacious, the willing to fail, get back up, keep going.
You have 1 step forward and 2 back. You can't let those backward steps discourage you. You got to concentrate on the forward ones, figure out why you didn't have more progress forward, regroup, get new allies, and just move on.
Of course, all these women do manage to make it work. The key for them, having supportive families.
Plans for the new Carolina North Research Campus are on indefinite hold, so the Horace Williams Airport is getting cleared for landing. Several trees will be removed at the end of the runway within the fenced-in airport property. UNC has been trying to close the airport since 2002 when the university announced it would make room for the Carolina North Research Campus. There are currently no plans to close Horace Williams, and the tree removal complies with airport maintenance.
During the past few weeks, residents of Orange County have been going green with the distribution of blue recycling carts. The Orange County Board of Commissioners purchased 7,600 recycling carts to replace smaller bins. The new 90-gallon carts can hold 5 times more waste than their smaller counterparts. The carts will make it to only about half of Orange County's nearly 14,000 households, but officials hope to provide more carts in the future. These are littered throughout campus, solar-powered big belly trash cans. They're part of a pilot program to increase efficiency in the way workers collect trash on UNC's campus. The bins automatically compact trash and recyclable material. When this blinking light turns from green to red, a signal goes to ground services. This new technology will allow less frequent visits and potentially save the university money. Unlike these traditional trash cans, the new bins will keep trash in and these little critters out. Your single pod K-cup can't be recycled in a normal fashion. Why? Because the plastic, aluminum, and coffee grounds can't be broken down when used together. And as a result, they are deposited in landfills all over the world. That's why a group of students has created the K-Cup Clean Campus Initiative. The group is working to raise $1,000 to place special recycling bins for K-Cups in all dorm rooms across campus.
Taxi service Uber recently cut prices by 30% in 48 metro areas across the country, and Raleigh-Durham is one of them. The company promises that cheaper fares will equal more rides and greater profits for drivers. Sarah Rutherford joins us live in the studio with more. Sarah, some drivers don't see it that way, do they?
That's right, Kristen. Not only are some drivers saying they're not seeing higher profits, some say they might not be able to continue driving for Uber at all.
It was deep. It was a deep cut.
Uber driver Jody McClure says that since the price cut, her paycheck has almost been cut in half. McClure, like many Uber drivers, has found that after paying for gas and deducting Uber's 20% commission from her revenue, she's lucky if she makes minimum wage.
That's kind of fine line we're looking at right now is that it's almost to the point where I'm paying them to work, and that's too low.
So why drive?
I still love it, actually. It's very addictive. It's actually a lot of fun.
Freshman Carolina student and Uber passenger Nick Yee says this type of enthusiasm is what separates Uber from other taxi services.
Say I like Uber, not because of the price, but because of the service.
Although customers and drivers were satisfied before, Uber says the cuts will benefit riders and drivers even more.
We've done price cuts. We've done them a couple times. And what we see is with these price cuts, it results in greater demand on the rider side. And with that greater demand, you have more efficiency on the driver side, and then therefore drivers are earning more.
Bennett says Uber has made similar cuts in New York, Chicago, and D.C., and that it takes about 3 weeks before drivers start seeing increased earnings. Yet 3 weeks might be too long for some drivers, like McClure, who are weighing whether or not they should continue to drive for Uber. We're coming up on that 3-week mark, the point at which Uber says drivers should start to see a difference. So far, McClure says no increase in ridership and no increase in her paycheck either.
CNBC reports Uber's valuation at $40 billion. Now that's billion with a B.
A warmer than average early February day.
A perfect day to be campaigning for student government offices. Drew Day will tell us if the pleasant temps will continue.
Welcome back to Carolina Week, everyone. I'm Drew Day. Thanks for staying with us this evening. We'll start off with a look at the current temperatures outside at Williams Airport. The current temperature is 45 degrees, so it's chilly out there. The dew point is at 8, so the air is very dry. And we have a northwest wind at 5 miles per hour out there, so it is a little breezy this evening. We'll take you through the next 24 hours here, starting off at 7 p.m. this evening. We have an area of high pressure currently over the state, and that will move south just a little bit later on this evening. You'll notice that we have a stationary front sitting offshore just a bit, producing some showers there, and then a secondary frontal system back to the northwest producing snow and mixed precipitation for portions of the north and northeast this evening. And that cold front will sweep through the area later on, so that by the time we get to 1 a.m. tomorrow morning, that front is already offshore. So it will move through the state quickly, and once it does so, it will produce some showers along the coast and in the southern part of the state, but around here in the Triangle and in Chapel Hill, we expect to be dry. We really don't have a great chance of rain out there, which we'll talk about in just a second for tomorrow. There could even be some snow showers in the North Carolina mountains. Now, by 7 p.m. tomorrow evening, that area of high pressure has moved in behind that front, which means that we'll have sunny skies for the day on Friday, and high temperatures will once again be in the 40s, much like today. Now, this is a look at what we call an ensemble forecast, which really the goal of this is to take into account that we cannot measure the atmosphere perfectly, especially over the oceans, where it's just too expensive to have buoys, and it's also expensive to send up weather balloons as well, because when you send up a weather balloon, you're not going to get it back. It's gone. So this is taking into account that there are inaccuracies in our weather station measurements, just like the one I showed you out at Williams Airport. And so we run the computer model several different times in an attempt to see how sensitive the atmosphere is, so that if all of these lines, for example, were all together, we would say, oh, well, it's okay, our inaccuracies really aren't a big deal. But when you see a wide spread like this, that means, well, there could be some trouble down the road. But we'll take a look at this here and I'll explain it. With this black line you see here is the mean rainfall for tomorrow. And if you look on the axis here, this is really only 1/100th of an inch. So most of the computer models are calling for 1/100th, which is just barely enough to wet the ground. So it's certainly not a big deal. And then even at worst, if you look at the highest rainfall amount from one of the computer models, it's only pointing at 6/100ths of an inch. So really, even if we see the most extreme solution, it's really not going to end up to be a lot of rainfall. So tomorrow, I think you can get through the day without a rain jacket. There's really no need for it. At least that's what I'm going for. That's what I'll be doing. So if that gives you any confidence as to how you should act tomorrow afternoon. So we're really not expecting a lot of rain out there. So for this evening, we expect temperatures to drop down into the mid-30s with mostly cloudy skies, winds 4 to 6 miles per hour. So the wind will stay up this evening. Then by 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, temperatures will be in the upper 30s, in the lower 40s by noon, and they'll already be back down to the 30s by 8 p.m. in the evening. And then the 5-day forecast, after a high of 46 in the afternoon tomorrow and cooler on Friday at 44, we will warm up for the weekend with temperatures in the mid-50s and even near 60 on Sunday.
You know, our state groundhog, Sir Walter Wally, said on Monday that, well, he didn't see his shadow. So what does that mean?
Well, he didn't see his shadow, which means he is predicting an earlier spring. But if you look at some of the climate models, really what we're deciding is we don't know yet. Portions of the Central Plains look like they'll be cooler and the West Coast will be warmer. But around here, we really have no idea at this point. It's just too far down the road.
So Sir Walter Wally knows more than you do about the weather, Drew, huh?
Perhaps he does. We'll have to see. We can revisit this issue a little later.
Okay. Thank you, Drew.
You're welcome.
Tar Heel fans are worried. Is it time for the team to hit the panic button?
Molly Oak is next with sports.
Welcome back to Carolina Week. I'm Molly Oak with sports. It's signing day and the commits are coming in. Our Tate Frazier joins us live in studio to give us the updates. Tate?
How's it going, Molly? And yes, it is signing day here, and we are talking about these high schoolers who are committing themselves to their college decision for the next 4 years of their life. And in Tar Heel Town, we're talking about 19 guys who have decided to come to Chapel Hill. We've got 5 of the top 15 players in the state of North Carolina and 2 of the 4 top players in South Carolina. And we're talking about defense. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about the struggles that the Tar Heels have had on the defensive side of the ball. And Gene Chizik, our new defensive coordinator, needs 2 defensive ends. The first guy he got, Jason Strobridge, who's from Florida. He's a big guy, and he's going to do a lot of things at the defensive end. Another guy, the #1 defensive end in the North Carolina, actually, Jalen Dalton, who actually enrolled in January and is doing big things for North Carolina, hopefully on the field. And on the offensive side of the ball, how sweet it is. William Sweet, an offensive tackle that's 6'7", also just enrolled in Chapel Hill in January. And another guy, Tommy Hatton, the #2 center in the country, and Hatton is already ready to get rolling in Chapel Hill coming in the summer. And obviously, the Tar Heels addressed some things in the trenches. That was one of the biggest needs that they had coming into this signing day, and they got those addressed. And hey, who knows? Maybe these guys will be making an impact in the fall for the Tar Heels. Back to you, Molly.
Thanks, Tate. I gotta love to see some fellow Floridians joining us up here in Carolina. That was Tate Frazier in the studio with the very latest about Carolina's incoming football class. Thanks, Tate. And after a 6-game winning streak, Carolina has lost 2 in a row to Louisville and Virginia. While injuries have hurt the team, sloppy play has been its biggest weakness. At the beginning of the season, Coach Roy Williams said this team would be his best offensive rebounding team he has ever coached. Even though that's still up for debate, it's not the Heels' biggest issue right now. It's turnovers. Virginia scored 18 of their points off turnovers on Monday night. That could have been the difference between a loss and a win for the Heels. Carolina will need to improve in both areas to have any hope for a decent seeding for the NCAA tournament. And on a more positive note, the halftime show at the Virginia game gave a whole new meaning to the song Jump Around. This is Acro Dunk. They are insane. They were a huge hit at halftime, and they travel all over the world, so I love seeing them here at Carolina. And honestly, how could they not be a hit? Check out that dunk right there. They went from breaking it down with moves like this on the floor to almost breaking down the backboard. That guy just did a backflip. And their big finale, a dunk that involved all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold on, one more is coming. And there's 6 guys with a huge slam. Holy cow. How could that not hype up the crowd?
You know, Molly, I think that if I try to dunk that shot, I might fall a few feet short and maybe even flat on my face.
You know what? I'd like to get some video of that and put that on sports next week.
Yes, and Elizabeth, I'll let you take on that. I will not be involved. Thank you, Molly.
What can veterans do with their old uniforms?
One group shows those in Chapel Hill how to craft those uniforms into art. The Varsity Theater is faced with a decision: go digital or go dark. The movie theater launched a crowdfunding campaign on Kickstarter with a goal of raising $50,000 for upgrades. Midway Businesses, a collective of mom and pop shops along Graham Street, pitched in to help the Varsity digitize its theaters. Sunday and Monday businesses including Rumors Vintage Clothing Store, Beer Study, and Baxter Bar Arcade donated a percentage of their sales to the cause. Thanks to overwhelming support from the community, the Varsity met its fundraising goal 2 weeks ahead of time.
The Combat Paper Project holds workshops for community members to express themselves on paper and bond with veterans. Dripping, pressing, and drying. The weekend event offered students a hands-on look into the tradition of paper making and silkscreen printing. Using old military uniforms, veterans joined with the general public to create artwork and open up a dialogue about their experiences. The group travels throughout the country, offering a creative space for transforming memories into therapeutic prints.
That does it for this edition of Carolina Week.
Thanks for watching. Have a good night.